Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. Attenzione, I start immediately the channel with a picture. 4-4-2 with a diamond midfield. That could be the possible new idea of Max Allegri, because yesterday this formation was reported by the journalists that were present in the open training session. What is Max Allegri cooking? If you want to know, you have to bear with me on the channel, because we will fill in these dots with the names of the players that can play in these roles. But of course, first we have to speak about other topics. The topic of the day, Paul Labille Pogba counter analysis. We'll speak about the 3 pages interview, exclusive interview of Federico Chiesa in Tuttosport, going towards Del Piero Alessandro, that can become possibly the new sporting director of Al Nassr. And then we finish with, yes, the truth, the story that has been leaked yesterday, Jude Bellingham, that could have become a Juve player in 2020. Maximum of like if you didn't yet, and I recommend you to do it, because it's already a long time ago that we didn't reach these minimum 500 likes. If you want to show support, it's the moment. Continue to subscribe, because if you were not ready until now, it's the moment to be ready. We start immediately with the news of the day. Paul Labille Pogba counter analysis. We already spoke about all the details. We will know finally if the test will be negative or positive. Actually, we don't call it positive, but we call it negative or non-negative. And from there on, we will know what to do. Attenzione, because I have a bad news. The news could possibly arrive even tomorrow, because the counter test will be done today. I'm expecting counter test being done today. Tomorrow, the official news, but maybe already this evening, some leaks, some reports from well-informed journalists. So pay attention. Then, of course, what are the consequences for Juventus? Well, at the moment, we don't know. We'll have to wait until we have the officiality. If the tests are really negative and there was a mistake, percentages of chances are really, really small. He could possibly even play against Torino. If not, and if the tests are non-negative or positive, whatever you want to call it, from that moment on, well, it could go from a ban from 1 year if it was not intentional until 4 years. We move immediately to the interview of Federico Chiesa. On Tuttosport we see the big title, Sì, io e Dusan vogliamo sognare. Yes, me and Dusan, we want to dream. Attenzione to the small title, because Federico Chiesa is continuing with obiettivo quarto posto, ma se a marzo siamo lì, objective is the 4th spot. But if in the month of March we are there, attenzione, punto, 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 dot, dot, dot. So what are they speaking about in that maxi interview? Well, I will try, to read, because it's really 3 pages and I don't remember everything by heart. Well, we started with the first question. That is also the question that I'm always asking when I'm interviewing a player. How are you doing? And that question is even more important if we know that Chiesa is coming back from injury, that famous injury of January 2021 on the field of l'Olimpico against Roma, where he's saying, I'm feeling well. I will tell you even more, I'm feeling fantastically well. I don't want to hear the word recuperating anymore. I am back, physically and mentally, which is the best news if we want to keep something in mind from that 3 pages interview. Well, this is the thing that you have to remember, and that will make Juventini super happy, because he's back physically and mentally. Then we continue with the new role that has been proposed by Max Allegri to him in the summer. I trust the mister in the choice of putting me as the second striker, and to be honest, if we are looking at the start of the season, I didn't start that bad. So he's really accepting that role. He's happy, also because he will later speak about the personal record that he wants to beat, scoring more than 10 goals in a season with Juventus. So he's really focused on that role, feeling really well in that role. What about the relationship between him and Allegri? Because you know it, the negative voices are saying that they don't have a really fantastic relationship. He's saying, Mava, what are you speaking about? I'm feeling great, and I have a great relationship with everyone at the club. What about the calcio moderno, the modern football that Federico Chiesa, I believe, spoke about in 2 different interviews, post-game interviews? He said, well, what is the idea of football? Modern football is, of course, to press higher the opponents, and also to be more propositive, offering something when we have the ball into their feet. All things that we are trying to do. Of course, in some games it's working better, in other games it's working a bit less. For example, against Sassuolo, from a certain moment of that game, we totally collapsed at a certain moment. We were not united anymore, and everything that we had in mind, we were not able to do it on the field. But of course, with 1 game a week, with the entire week to train, because since we are out of the cups, since we knew it, we have a different schedule to train it. With the support of Padoin, with the support of Magnanelli, we have more time to test. We are not there yet, but we are training hard because that's what we want to go for. Then he's answering about the question about the skeptical thoughts of some supporters not believing immediately that this team that we have at the moment can compete again for high levels. His answer is, we are coming from 2 years without any cup, and this is something really strange for the club. It's also something that is not making Juventus and the management happen. Our objective is to enter Champions League, and that's where the magic begins. That's where we can possibly dream. If in the month of March we are there, well, we want to dream. We want to go for it. We want to make it possible to believe and to dream. And that's also what has been reported by Max Allegri, by Giuntoli, by all the people that are speaking. When I hear every time that maximum objective is top 4 and that Juventus is going with lowering the standards or the expectations, well, partially it's correct, partially it's not correct, because it's not maximum top 4 and we are happy and satisfied. Chiesa is confirming the words of all the other people that spoke. We want to do it step by step, trying to stick with the top 4, and if in the month of March we are there, we put the speed on and we try to go for dreaming. What about the last year? Was it that difficult with all the off-the-field topics? Well, he's saying absolutely. It was really difficult because we would have loved that we continue to play and at the end of the season they would tell us how many points they were deducted. But it is something that is quite difficult to digest during the season when you see that your points are taking back, your points are giving back, and then they're taking it away, and so on and so on and so on. What about the Champions League? Is he watching Champions League? He's saying yes, and every time that I'm watching Champions League, I'm super pissed off because Milan, that finished 5th, should not have been there. They took away from us twice the European competition. First out of the Champions League with a -10, and then even out of the Conference League. So he's absolutely not pissed off. What about the feeling in the locker room at the moment? He's saying grande voglia di rivalsa. We want to revenge, a bit like the words of Dusan Vlahovic on Instagram after this fantastic game against Lazio. Then he's saying, in eredità più rabbia ho archiviato ogni discorso. What about today? Are they still speaking about it during in the locker rooms and so on between them? He's saying, no, this season we don't speak anymore about off-the-field topics. We are focused on what we have to do on the field. So all the extra topics, what we spoke about last year, well, we try to totally forget it and starting focusing on the field, what we have to do to go for our objectives. What about the new group? He says a lot of people left, experienced people, talented people, without mentioning names. And then saying we have Wea, we have Cambiaso as 2 new faces, but also players from the next gen like Huijsen, like Yildiz, but also like Ealing Jr. that played a few games with us last season. When I'm watching them every single day in training session, I can guarantee you that this player could be the future of Juventus, taking Juventus with hands to represent something really beautiful there in the future of Juventus. So also him confirming that a Miretti, a Fagioli, that we will speak about a bit later regarding the national team of Italy. He's saying, you know, these kind of players are really strong, are great. I watch them, I see them in training session. They can be the future of Juventus. What about Vlahovic? He's saying, well, we already were friends at Fiorentina. Super happy that he joined me here at Juventus. And I have to say that the relationship is working great. We started really well this season. How is he feeling at the moment? He's saying Dusan is feeling really well. Don't worry about Dusan. Another great news for us, Juventini. What else? Well, he's speaking about the trust that Allegri is giving him. He was the first one to tell him personally, I see that you are different, that you are feeling super well physically. And he's saying this helps me in terms of feeling that trust in a mental point of view. So that relationship between Max and Chiesa is working well. Then he spoke again about that captaincy. He's saying at the moment I'm absolutely not thinking about it. And then finally he spoke about Mercato, about Premier League, because they went on his mastering of the English language thanks to his school. He's saying, you know, I speak English, but at the moment the only thing that I can do with my English is speaking better with Wea and with Weston McKennie in the locker room. In the summer, the only voice that I heard in terms of Mercato was Giuntoli, that was asking me how I was doing, and I told him I want to focus and doing as much as I can during the preseason because I need a great preseason to perform on the field. Then he spoke in that third page about Juve, the future of the national Italian team, saying we need Juventus players. like a Gatti, like a Miretti, like a Fagioli, three players that I think are needed at the national team of Italy. So that was the interview of Federico Chiesa, a long one, important words that I particularly appreciate for the transparency and honesty about how he answered the question. About Tuttosport, what I want to say is that yesterday I had again contact with Guido Vassiago, that is the director of Tuttosport, who I have a fantastic relationship of, and I'm thinking maybe in the next coming week to invite him again to speak about Juve in general, because it's one that really know about Juventus. So if you want to let me know, if you want the director of Tuttosport again here on the channel for life, where you can chat with him and ask you whatever you want. Now we go towards that first picture that I showed you, that 4-4-2. You know that yesterday Continassa was open. There were some journalists like Romeo Agresti, and I will ask him this evening to give us more details. Well, a 4-4-2 has been tested. It doesn't mean that we will play with a 4-4-2 against Torino, but from the insights that we have a few certainties. Szczesny, of course, is goalkeeper number one. We have the possibility to see Weah on the right side as a right back with a bit less offensive power, maybe an idea that we were already talking about when he was about to sign. Do you remember that we went into how he was playing with Lille? That can be a future possibility. Bremer, Danilo in as a center back, maybe Cambiaso or Kostic that was not participating to the training session yesterday as a left back, and then that diamond midfield with Locatelli, Rabiot on the left, McKennie on the right, and Miretti on top. We know that Miretti has these qualities of playing behind these strikers. That could be possibly a diamond midfield to use as much as possible the midfielders that we have up front, Chiesa and Vlahovic. What is the benefit for Chiesa in that kind of lineup? That he can go without having too many people on his way or in his feet on the left side. You know, when he is playing with Kostic, a lot of time they are using that double position because Chiesa loves to go on the left and then Kostic loves to stay on that left side. Well, that can be a benefit for Chiesa, can be a benefit for McKennie that will enter again. That feels maybe the father of McKennie will be happy if this happens, because he can also play with Weah, maybe not in that same line, but with Weah staying a bit more in the back. Well, this kind of formation could be in the future an ideal one, especially if Paul Pogba will be tested, unfortunately, non-negative, or I mean positive. Going towards the two last topics, Alessandro Del Piero. Yesterday, the bomba arrived from some accounts. Del Piero is getting close, or is close to being the sport director of Al Nassr club. Then I saw a lot of people, blah, 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 not happy. What is Del Piero doing? Why is he going for the money? And so on and so on. I tell you the truth. Personally, I don't see any problem with Del Piero going to another club to become sporting director. I always told you, Del Piero is my favorite player. If you are watching him, he's there in my wall, the shirts of Del Piero and so on. My favorite player, and he will be forever my favorite player. But then I also told you that at the moment I have no evidences, no proofs about how great he can be as a manager. Can be a sporting director, can be a coach, can be a president. I know that he's really maintaining well his image. That's something that he's doing fantastically well. So in terms of PR, fantastic person. In terms of management of his restaurants, 10, he's doing fantastically well. But a club of football, I don't know. And I'm curious to see. So if he can go to Al Nassr for a few years, gaining experience as a sporting director or whatever role, welcome. And then Del Piero coming back to Juve. I know that a lot of people are really impatient. They want to see Il Pinturicchio immediately as president of the club. Calma, tranquilli. I would absolutely not see this one as a disgusting decision of Del Piero or whatever. It's a path in a career. Strange choice? If we're looking at Del Piero after Italy, he went to Australia. He went to India. Well, he's going towards different continents, learning new cultures. He went to LA to live there. So, you know, America, Asia. If he's now able to return to Asia, you know, in another country, it's enriching his personality. If you know a bit of Del Piero, is it that strange? I don't know. We finished with the last news of the day. Yesterday, Goal Italia with Romeo Agresti. They spoke about behind the scenes of 2020 when a 16 years old Bellingham Jude was in La Continassa, was in Vinovo, speaking with Juventus, the management, with the family also of Jude Bellingham. I can tell you that until today, even if it didn't happen, well, the family is in great contact with Juventus management. Will you tell me, Beppe, will he arrive in the future? I don't believe so. You will regret it. Maybe yes, maybe no. He was in Vinovo, like Erling Haaland was one day also in the training center to discover a bit the structure of Juventus. You know, I can see the positive things. Juventus is able, with a Tognozzi, with a Manna, to identify the top players, like we did, for example, for a Sule, for a Ealing Jr., for a Kenan Yildiz, for a Dean Huijsen. On these players, it worked and we brought them to Juventus. Then some players like Haaland, like Bellingham, maybe Tchouaméni, that we were also on. For these players, it didn't happen for a simple reason. Other clubs at that moment in the season had more possibly money to spend on a player. They went for them. They increased also the offer to play immediately in the first team. Attenzione, because Haaland and Bellingham, they chose to go to Dortmund, a team that we know it, they have not the pressure of finishing first. A team that has room to launch some young talents. They have the money, we know it, they have the money, they have no financial problem, and on top of that, they can launch some players, because if they don't win a cup, well, it's okay. We, in 2020, when we spoke with Haaland, when we spoke with Bellingham, well, we had the obligation to win. Even today, where everyone is telling you, Juventus is competing for top 4 and maybe then dream, and we take away that pressure of being obliged to win the Scudetto, the Tifosi are super pissed off, because they say, no, we are obliged to win. We are obliged to win every single season. When you are Juve, you are obliged to win. So if you're thinking, launching a 16-year-old player where you're not sure about it, in first team with the obligation to buy, then are we regretting players that could have been? Probably yes, but yesterday my son, when I told him, he said, you know what, yes, it's a pity, it is what it is, but let's not regret, let's try to work towards finding the new Bellinghams, the new Haaland, and maybe this time to sign them, like we did for Huijsen, like we did for Kenan Yildiz. So I think that the 15 years old was mature enough to tell me, Papa, don't regret, let's work towards the new ones. And that's what Juventus has to do. We have already those fantastic scouts that were always there. Now we have to find a way to seal also these kind of players. This is what I wanted to say in a long video, but we had so many different topics to speak about. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know. Grazie, forza, Juve.